thank you for joining Cloud and Clear. I am your host, Miles Ward. I'm CTO at SADA today, but also any other day in the future, because this is recorded, and so it could be at any conceivable time. I am pleased to welcome Khawaja Shams, co-founder and CEO of Momento, but also superhero in the technical world. Khawaja, thank you for joining us. I am so excited for today's conversation.
Thanks for having me, Miles. It's always a pleasure to talk to you.
There's only two sides of the coin, right? Either you're the excited one or you're the sort of dour one. So you took the dour slide.
I have to be. I cannot match that energy. I'll try, but no, I know when I'm vested.
All right, here. So Khawaja, can you tell us more about Momento and what you do?
Yeah. Let me tune that up a notch. Momento is the world's first serverless cache. It gives developers instant acceleration, instant elasticity, and the ability to handle millions of transactions per second with a single API call.
Okay, look, so those are big promises. I'm a promise-oriented guy, right? I think it's critical as engineers are building their systems that they can look under the hood and understand what's going on. But serverless suggests to me that that's not the case. You're just going to handle it. You're taking care of my problems. Like millions? Like millions? How many millions? Is it okay? Like where are the bounding boxes around Momento?
If you look at some of the world's largest caching fleets, the ones that are running at Facebook, Pinterest, Twitter, Netflix, and so forth, they're handling hundreds of millions of transactions a second. And we're taking in some of those best practices and bringing them in-house so that customers aren't learning scaling lessons and challenges like one outage at a time. When a product is truly serverless, you see just productivity. The configurations, benchmarking, outages, provisioning, all those distractions just kind of go away, letting you focus on what you need to. So it's not anything, brand new, right? That's just always been the promise of serverless.
Yeah, I'm a huge student of the model. I think of it as, from some of the oldest slide decks about anything in public cloud, like what part of the crap are you responsible for? And there was all this sort of sliding scale, like if you do this all on virtual machines with your bare paws, it's mostly your problem. Like somebody at Amazon or Google or Azure is going to go off and buy computers for you. But by and large, you're in charge of fussing with this stuff. And the trade-off was always, that you'd have less flexibility. It'd be difficult for you to be able to get things to work with the specifics of your environment and workload. Maybe narrow down for us, cache is a big category. There's a whole bunch of competitors. Is there specific products that you feel like you face up well against? Is there a standard adoption path that you're seeing for early customers?
Yeah, Momento is an in-region cache. So if you're sitting inside of an AWS or GCP and soon to come Azure region, you can use it to accelerate your web application servers. Typically, in terms of what part of the stack this goes under, it helps your web servers, not kill your databases. That's what it comes down to. And then it helps your customers get the data faster. So it's a shield on top of your databases, and it's an accelerator facing the consumers. And then your CFO will love you because caches reduce your spend as well, because databases are expensive.
They most certainly are. I am thinking specifically of creating a shield in front of a database on a project that you and I worked together long ago, back in the NASA days. I think it may be the only time in the history of ever that somebody stood up an M1 small MySQL server with a 64 core read replica hanging off of the top of it to just keep away the traffic, keep it away. So, having a serverless caching system means you don't have to have a furry red bearded weirdo do this on your behalf. You get to have a much better looking Khawaja do it for you, which is great. How does the service work in practice, right? Like, the getting started process, that's something you contract with you guys through the website, and then you get access to an API key and you're off to the races. Like, walk me through kind of what the first couple of minutes of the experience feels like.
Yeah, the promise of serverless is you get started with a single API call. And our bar, when we started looking at caching, we benchmark what is the getting started experience in existing solutions, whether it's Elasticache, memory store, and so forth. And it turns out that when you go on the console, you're enamored with a number of configurations decisions that you have to make and get right. And then after that, you have to do instrumentation. You have to do, you have to make sure SSL is on. Like there's a whole lot of things that you just have to do. Our bar at Momento is that a brand new developer who has never heard of us can get started and issue their first get and set before their cluster comes up if they already knew how to use the existing products. Now, that includes the installation time, includes the account sign-up process, includes the getting the key and just embedding it into our CLI and just saying, create cache, get set, and you're ready. So single API call, you get, you sign up on the CLI. You don't even have to go to a website. You just punch in your email on the CLI. You get a token. There's a generous free tier that you can use to get started. You can build production applications on it. We are not robbing you of, high availability, replication, like none of that. Like all of that is there. Your first 50 gigs are just free. So you get started and, we'll make it so easy for you. Like you don't even have to call us. We'll call you, right? We know who's doing what and when they're about to run their free tier. So just making it as easy for the customers as possible, just trying to improve the pace of innovation for the world.
Okay. So, SADA works with this enormous breadth of possible customers, right? I was on yesterday with this incredible startup. They're totally crazy. They're in our startup program. And they have exactly the architecture you described. There's a Postgres database that sits in the back. There's arbitrary n number of web servers that sit out front. And, immediately I get the eyeball twitch. I'm going, that database seems all lonely like and scared. How do we keep it from experiencing hot death? So it strikes me that this is going to be the easy thing to insert at that layer for a company that has that clear of an architecture. It works for if you're on MySQL, you're on Postgres, you're on any of the standard open source. Are there any databases where it's like, no, do not use Momento? That's a bad plan. Like things that it doesn't compete with or isn't compatible with.
I think the one guidance that I've been giving customers is don't treat your cache as a database. Cache has a very specific purpose. And what we're noticing is that oftentimes customers try to replace their database entirely with cache. And for transient data that's just being continuously regenerated, sure, that's fine. But you got to be careful with, using your cache as the actual database and using it to replace the Postgres's or the Alloy DBs of the world. We're there to make them better. We're not there to replace the existing databases.
Well, that's awesome. So look, we're extreme fans of the product here. I've been recommending it to customers. I'm excited about the positive results that they're seeing early on. Any places where you're I saw a couple customers you were talking about in the press releases, like spots where folks are, some stats, give me some numbers. How much better is it? Where do they really see the benefit?
One, the developer productivity is through the roof. We've taken customers from evaluation to production in a matter of like a couple of weeks. And that's saying something, right? Like this is not like a development environment. The Momento is production ready. It's built by people who built mission critical systems in the past. We're operating it. It's ready for scale and it's ready for business. And when you make the decision, it's a matter of weeks. The other piece, and you can deploy into your dev environment like before lunchtime, right? So that part is fast. And then productionizing it, writing whatever you need to do, waiting for your deployment cycles. We target a couple of weeks for that. The other piece is customers are saving money. So what happens with the non-serverless provision capacity models is that people are provisioning a ton of capacity. And they provision this ton of capacity for their peak. And then they say, well, I know that if I'm surprised by my peak, I know this system isn't going to be very elastic. It's not going to, double its capacity instantly. So why don't I multiply it by 2 or 4 and just provision double what my anticipated peaks are, just as insurance. And insurance is expensive because, it doesn't, like, while it may repair your car, it's not going to prevent your accident from happening, right? So people just end up over provisioning. And as a result, we find out that even like at our public prices, we end up saving customers anywhere between 50 to 90% of their cash. And the third piece metric that I'll share with you is I've been going around helping customers look at their cloud bill. Costs are really important to people. It is always surprising to them when they see caching as one of their top 3 or 5 spend. And I can tell you, like, almost every time I walk into a customer and we look at their bill, caching, they're number 3 or number 5. There's just something magical about that number.
Yeah, never number 4. No, that one's always storage. We definitely see some very consistent patterns on our side. I think the pattern that I see even more than that, either cache is big, or where is cache? What are you doing? Why are there 1,400 little database instances and there is no caching anywhere? Somebody's making sort of horrible life choices and just unaware of a building block in the stack. So I think it's kind of solving for both of those.
Yeah, absolutely. We do what we can to make it easy, save them money on their infra, and then save them money on their developer productivity too.
Yeah. You imagine like you have this whole concept of, right? I mean, the word's been redefined 1,500 times. Is it DevOps? Is it platform engineering? Now everybody continues to sort of shuffle this bit, but whatever it is called, I can tell you that it's pronounced expensive. And those people are time constrained, and any of the things you can take off of their plate is just meaning you can point them at the more valuable problems you have. So thinking of valuable problems, right? You started working with us relatively early in Momento's trajectory. Can you talk about kind of picking SADA, getting into contact with us? How did this all originate?
There's a whole lot of very successful startups that are working with SADA, and it was always kind of an aspiration that we got to get big enough to call SADA up and say, hey, we want to enroll in your startup program. And we were somewhat humbled when I reached out, and you're like, let's go, let's just get going, let's get you enrolled tomorrow. So that was, it was really nice to be able to kind of fly with the giants and to come to the to the big kids table, if you will. And that experience has been great. We have learned that SADA has got a huge customer base. There's just a ginormous number, a portion of the Google Cloud revenue that is generated by SADA, and it comes from some of the biggest customers. And it's just really nice for a startup at our stage to just get FaceTime with those customers, learn what their problems are, and to be able to, experience the delight when we tell them that, hey, we can cut your bill by a few $100,000 here and there.
That is the current moment, right? I mean, I don't know how many of our customers are trying to figure out how to take advantage of that whole utility part of the utility pricing model and go, ooh, yay, I can crank that back a little bit. And that's what it's for, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, we had a bunch of customers that were in data centers. They get an easy opportunity to reduce their bills based on improved efficiency once every 3 or 4 years. That's too infrequent for most of the customers that we talk to. So, and I appreciate you saying you're running with the big dogs. We were super excited about interacting with you even from the outset. Our history of working together has made me very confident in the things you invest your time in. So it was an easy choice on our part. But I can't be in every single call you have with SADA, which is, infuriating. I would prefer to be in all of them. But what's it like working with the rest of SADA? Like any examples of maybe the partnership in action or team members that have been useful to work with?
We came to SADA. I think it's great that you're here, but it's more about the company that you've kind of helped create, right? That is compelling to us. The SADA team is great. The SAs are incredible. And we are a technical product. It's a complex product. It takes deep technical domain knowledge to know where to kind of inject it. And working with the SADA SAs, the SADA TAMs, the caliber of these engineers is just through the roof. And it's just always floors me how quickly they just get it. Right. And being able to present to them, giving a hands-on lab, it was just fascinating. And then them being able to say, I have these end customers that you should talk to. And then bringing us into those meetings was just, it puts the startup on the map, because in the early days, you're trying to find product market fit. People who are technical can give you concrete feedback and then point you to where the relevant problems are, is the best gift you can hope for as an entrepreneur. And we have gotten that from SADA.
That's awesome. You mentioned earlier kind of it makes complete sense to me that as a managed service product, you're going to want to be in as many of the clouds as you can. Any comparison, contrast? What's it been like using Google Cloud kind of in concert with SADA?
My bread and butter has been on AWS. I worked on AWS for a while. I used Google at NASA as well, but for the most part, I grew up playing in AWS land. And I had severe doubts about our team's ability to be able to deploy our product on GCP. So we hit the ground running. We built the stuff on AWS, and we're like, okay, we know there's a huge market, and we saw customers that were pressuring us because existing customers in the pipeline that are considering alternatives, and it was really important for them to be able to have the same capabilities on GCP or on Azure for that matter. And this self-doubt on our ability to operate a highly available service went away as soon as we started talking to the folks at SADA. We went through an awesome journey together in migrating our stuff from AWS to GCP and then supporting this multi-cloud workflow. And it did two things for us. One, now we're available in multiple clouds in a highly available fashion. There's a big opportunity inside of GCP. And two, we have gained some really crucial knowledge on how this journey works. And we think we can add this capability, this knowledge base to our customers and help them have a more seamless experience as they're considering migrating back and forth between the cloud providers.
I hear all the time from the big name pundit types that multi-cloud thing's BS. You can't be done. It's totally impossible. I'm like, well, what about every ISV in the world who is gonna really have to really? So I'm glad to hear that GCP, was pretty tractable as one of the contributors for the GCP for AWS Pros documentation. It was tractable for me too. Help me with maybe, an advice that you'd give to other ISVs that are looking down this road of having to support a multiple cloud deployment to meet customers where they are. What tools have been useful for you? What building blocks have been top of mind?
Getting started quickly is always helpful, even if it's just to evaluate how much of a pain it is, because in our case, it ended up being way easier than we thought it was going to be. We had some help from SADA, but sign an agreement with SADA, get the team on your side because they can connect you with the right people at Google. So that's been kind of nice, but just experiment and see if it's actually as hard as you might think. Third advice, it's always natural to think that the opportunity might be bigger in a particular cloud provider because you might have familiarity biases, or you might see the revenue numbers are bigger on one side or the other. But the revenue of a cloud provider does not equal to the opportunity for an ISV. You might just find that there's better opportunities for you in the other providers, especially when people are migrating, they're rewriting software. That is the time to inject yourself. And that's the other reason why we're super excited to be here with SADA as part of this journey.
I mean, I remember, at the very, 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 very beginning with AWS, where, everybody who was adopting the product was changing in some way. They had to be, because there's no such thing as a legacy AWS user. Well, it's been 12 years. And so now there are absolutely legacy AWS users who have inherited products that have no idea how they operate on the platform. They've long since become closed won - ignored by sort of local sales teams, and the ability to partner up and help them take the next iterative journey in making their systems more efficient and more powerful is a big opportunity. And I think Google is in many ways in the same spot that AWS was quite a few years ago, where the majority of customers are in this kind of shit, I got to innovate kind of mood, which is exactly the kind of work I want to be doing, which is why I'm focused here. But it's certainly a spot where once you've broken the seal and now you're in there and the IDE is open, you might as well sort of check everything and see if there's ways to make all the different parts of it more efficient. I think I'm excited about Momento as one of the sort of easy buttons for that I can put in front of as many customers as we can. So, okay, look, I want to be sensitive to folks' time. Khawaja, you've done a great job of handling my sort of rapid fire questions, but forget that. It's not nearly fast enough. We can't accelerate. Latency is key. We're going to go to even more rapid fire questions. So predictions for the field, 2023, what's coming up?
Two predictions. First, we're going to see the world move towards serverless. We have now serverless compute, databases, storage streams. Momento fills the piece in cache, right? But I think serverless by default is going to be the thing. The second prediction I have is that, like the early days of cloud, people started, I don't know if you must remember this, but people started putting a cloud sticker on data centers and calling it a cloud. And we used to call them cloud washers, and there was a lot of other names. And what's happening, we're going to see people abuse the word serverless. They're going to take instances, they're going to take services, and they're going to just start calling them serverless because it's great for marketing. So the mission of serverless has got to remain protected because it meaningfully increases the pace of innovation for the world. It increases the pace of experimentation, lowers the barrier to entry. The non-serverless world isn't, and it's really critical for us to be paying attention to who's posing as serverless versus the services that are actually serverless.
The amount of, serverless washing or whatever you don't want to talk about it, right? Everybody wants to feel like they get the inherited characteristics of it's easy and it's super straightforward and the utility pricing and there's no risks. And people got to actually put up instead of just faking out. Who are you inspired by? Who do you look up to? Who should we be reading?
I take inspiration from a lot of people, and there's different books that I'm reading each week. I do have a quick story to share about an entrepreneur I met at the last SADA Impact. This individual, he just had a passion to be outdoors, and he didn't have a lot of money, but he ended up getting a contract to just clean up some of the trails in the Washington state trail system. And when he got the contract, he didn't even have the equipment, the truck, the employees, nothing. But he kind of figured it out. And there's this other part of the story where he had hired a couple of people to help him with just eliminating the waste that was coming in, like burn the plants that were coming in and so forth, the greenery. And these people didn't listen to him. They started taking away some expensive plants or ornate plants, and they just started planting them. And that, for a small business person, that turned into a multi-$100,000 asset that they were able to turn around. And that kind of really made the moment. So the lessons that I learned, one, you got to follow what you're really, really passionate about. And two, you got to give your team the agency that they need to innovate, because you just don't know when they produce that, that $1 million, hundreds of thousands of dollars, like garden that can be sold to really make your innovation go faster.
I'm familiar with that story. He's a fascinating entrepreneur, and I beat him racing, and he will never forget it. That is the nature of the beast, and I'm never letting it go. That 10th of a second is precious to me, Khawaja. Precious. Last one, like any professional advice for our listeners, any your 20-year-old self, what should he be doing?
I think you just got to trust what your instincts tell you. It's oftentimes people get enamored with like analyzing what to do and what not to do, but your instincts are actually going to tell you the right things. And for me, I just blindly followed the cloud innovation, journey, and I knew something. I didn't know why. Any rationale I had for it is totally bogus in retrospect, 15 years later, right? But that worked for me. I had a ton of fun, and I learned a lot. I think I made a reasonable impact on the world by building services that help developers innovate faster. So I would just share the same advice with my 25-year-old self, that just trust your passion, follow it, and hang around smart people like Miles. That helped too.
I do not fit in that list. That is a terrible, terrible suggestion. But if you want tuba solos, I'm your guy. I'm happy.
If you want the best bad influence you can get, we can hang out with Miles.
That's right. Here to supply. Well, Khawaja, thank you so much, and folks in the audience, really appreciate you taking a chunk of time. That's all we've got for Cloud and Clear. If you want to learn more about Momento, where do they go? I think it's Go Momento.
GoMomento.com. Check it out.
Perfect.
You can get started in under 5 minutes, or your cash is free. It is free, but just try it and let me know if it takes you more than 5 minutes to do your first getting set.
Nice. Awesome. Well, everybody, thank you so much. And Khawaja, really appreciate it. Cheers, man.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Cloud and Clear. Check the show notes for links to this week's topics. And don't forget to connect with us on Twitter @CloudandClear and our website, sada.com. Be sure to rate and review the show on your favorite podcast app.